So for some reason my computer started to act crazy, so I had to have a location change in a different computer, and now I'm back in the office. So anyway, part 2 of this video, I'll promise I'll keep it short, but I did want to talk about a couple more disease processes. The first one being lung cancer. Lung cancer, not a good thing. You know, one of the leading causes of death in the U.S., very closely tied to smoking, to cigarette smoking especially. And by the way, all of you out there who support the idea of legalized marijuana, guess what? Lung cancer has been at least loosely linked to that as well. There have been ideas and people that say it's safe from a cancer and, you know, like nicotine tar standpoint. But it's not necessarily just the tar that's causing cancer. There's a lot of chemicals that happen when something combusts. That's why cancer rates increase or can be affected by eating like smoked meats and charred meat. So marijuana smoking still can lead to cancer. So sorry. Anyway, early stage cancer, really no symptoms. That's why it's found so late, and that's why it's found so deadly. When they appear, chest pain, cough, wheezing, barrel chest, all these other things can happen. So it's a bad thing. It's important to recognize it early. So if you have a history of it, or a family history of it, excuse me, or you smoked, you need to get checked for this. How do you treat it? Well, surgery, radiation therapy, chemo, depending on what it is. And there's a lot of ways to try to go out there and define it. You can do different treatments, and some of the terminology that we need to know. Wedge resections is when we take out a little wedge. Or you can do a lobectomy or a segmentectomy. They take out a segment of the lung. All right, and they're all pneumoectomies. I think you can see my cursor. Pneumoectomies. You know, what we talked about earlier. All right, let me skip down to the next disease. All right, I skipped right past upper airway obstructions, choking. I think you can read through that. The last one I want to talk about are pneumothorax. Pneumothorax, I guess is the plural. I have no idea. I just made that up. But pneumothoraxes. So pneumothoraxes are basically when you get air in the chest cavity outside of a lung. It's a collapsed lung, right? Your lung just doesn't work. It collapses. There's air outside of it. It can happen suddenly after trauma. It can happen spontaneously as well, especially, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, in young, skinny women of childbearing age who take birth control. Why? Nobody knows. But it is a risk. It's a low risk, but it happens. And you know, I've seen this a couple times in my career where a young, 20 or 18-year-old female who is taking birth control just has a spontaneous pneumothorax and one of their lungs collapse. If it's found and treated early, it's fixable. You get a chest tube where we decompress your chest and the lung reinflates and things go back to normal. It can be very tragic as well, but usually not so bad. All right, so signs and symptoms of this. What do we do here? We try to get people comfortable, and then we do a thoracostomy, put in a chest tube. Sometimes we'll do a chest decompression with a small needle. All right, so there are a few more diseases in this chapter. You need to read through and make sure you go through the PowerPoints, because remember, those red answers on the PowerPoint questions are very similar to the answers in the quizzes, so it's a good thing to know. All right, so that's the end of this part 2 video. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'll see you in chapter 5.